It's a sad scenario.
So now I would like to implore PSL that they know that for many years we've been dealing with the same problem where the logistical nightmare as far as traffic is concerned is not getting sorted, Rob. So what I'm saying is that if they want to see their bums on seats and they want to see spectators coming to the stadiums, Rob, they need to get this challenge correct.
Robert Marawa, live on 947. Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Sowetan Live. #MSW. Marawa Sports Worldwide, fully behind Team South Africa.
Now her first Olympic gold medal.
Busy making history in the city of style. Paris, France.
Well done.
Right here, #MSW.
All right, so Wade van Niekerk as well as Sean Maswanganyi booked their passage through now to the 200-meter semi-final after finishing third in their respective heats. Now, van Niekerk admitted, though, to feeling some rust afterwards after finishing in 20.42 seconds, but was very pleased, though, to have progressed without having to contest the rapid charge round. So, hey, well done to them.
Yeah, it was a good initial run out of the bend, but I know there's still a bit of work that needs to be done in the latter stage of the race, but we'll shake that off and try again next round. Yeah, for sure, a bit rusty out of the first round, but I know that I can do better. No, I still had to do some final preparation and work just before the competition, so I stayed around here just to get the feel back again. Today was a beautiful experience. Seeing how well the crowd is behind the home support, I think is very beautiful.
So Maswanganyi as well finished his heat in 20.20 seconds and also admitting afterwards to making some errors.
Just happy to qualify nicely. Biggest thing is you don't want to run too many races. Thank God I made it through for the semi-final. You don't have to run the supercharged round. But overall, I'm pretty satisfied. I know it could be a little bit better off the turn. That will make my straight a lot easier. But 20.2 is one of my fastest times. And that was a horribly executed race. So I know there's more to work on. Oh yeah, I didn't come out the turn as well as I usually want to execute. So I used too much energy on the turn. I want to be a little bit more efficient in the semi-final. So I have a lot more in the home stretch. Oh no, definitely not. I'm used to it. NCAA circuit is quite as rigorous, quite as demanding. Just happy to make it through and qualify. And hopefully, just make sure I make the final.
This is the home of sport.
Winning gold in the 100 metres breaststroke.
And it's also the hub of the Paris Olympics 2024.
None were faster than lane number 1.
Coming to you at high speed. Previously on Marawa Sports Worldwide.
And let's catch up now with Citizen Sports reporter Wesley Button for insights into Team SA's impressive performance so far.
It was awesome. The men's 100-meter final was incredible. As you said, gut-wrenching for Akani Simbine to come so close again. Aside from missing the podium by 100th of a second, he missed gold by only 300ths. It doesn't really get any closer than that. And I think it hurts him even more that it looked for a moment like he thought that he had a medal. And then when the results popped up on screen, just unfortunate for him. And then it's been a good start. The first 2 days of athletics, no medals yet, but the athletes are doing well.
#MSW. #MSW.
We are live on the YouTube channel. We are live wherever you are around the country, the continent, or the world. This is #MSW Marawa Sports Worldwide. Live on 947, Vuma FM, Rise FM, Sowetan Live. We are live on the DSTV channel. So, switch on. The options are there. All I'm telling you is that you want to listen very, very carefully today because now that Mamelodi Sundowns have proven to be the dominant force within the Premier Soccer League over the last decade, they've claimed their 7th successive league title last season. Now, you do the mathematics. 7 in a row. And with a couple of changes, though, in their coaching department this past season, or the season that's been laid off, I see a lot of keyboard warriors, keyboard coaches, as they call them, across social media platforms, saying that this might just be the end of the Pretoria outfit's dominance. They're saying, there they go. They've changed. What was a winning formation and a formula? It's done for them. But one thing I know And one thing I know for sure about their new coaching department is that they put in the work, and that's just what they've done this the preseason so far. And it's about consistency, guys. You know, I was trying to look back at when this man joined Mamelodi Sundowns, and, you know, my mathematics took me back to 2014. And I'm saying you don't have a better brain and a better human being and a better person, knowledge-wise, than the man that is sitting in front of me. So what would change? What would cause the change? Maybe you'll tell me when you send me the WhatsApp voice notes. I mean, all the guys, the ones that have gone and come back, I mean, they know the team. They know it too well. And Coach Mngqithi will tell us all about the preparations, including the most talked about formation changes that have been dominating the social media platforms. Firstly, for his first trip to this part of the world, Coach, good to see you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Rob, for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
You've been going up and down the world, man. Hey, Austria, how did that treat you?
I must be honest, I was very surprised. It was a very beautiful country, just at the base of the Alps. Training facilities were out of this world. The hotel facilities were good, and I think the opposition was even better than the opposition we got in Holland. So everything worked very well, I must be honest.
And how did the choice of venue come about? I mean, we've seen, I think, this time around, for the first time in a long time, PSL teams venturing to do preseason out of the country in as much as what we've seen now, others in Spain, others in Turkey, yourselves in Austria, and so on. The choice of venue itself was spurred on by what?
To be honest with you, I wouldn't tell you why others went our direction.
Yeah.
But our preparation are also in the thought of the Club World Cup. We wanted to play some European opponents and also play the Asian giants, the Al Hilal, because that was for us the most important thing. And we wanted to play physical teams like Cardiff so that we could see where are we when we are playing against teams that are going to be very dominant on set pieces, very strong in the air. Physically, they are busting and all that. And to be honest, I think we got what we wanted to get.
And when you start to see a couple of the new signings who join in, yes, it's unfamiliar territory for everybody. So you're all having an away game, but for them, it's also just trying to socialize. I always look at the pre-seasons as also a way of team building, in a way. I don't know if you see it in the same way, or is team building something completely separate from what you do in pre-season?
To be honest, I think pre-season is team building is part of what you want, because you also want your team cohesion. You want your players to understand each other outside the field. When they get to spend time after training, they get to know each other for real as to who this guy is, instead of meeting in training and then off to your cars and you're going home. And I must say the atmosphere is very good. The team looks very good. We started slow, but I think the way we have ended is quite powerful, because in the last 4 matches, I think we have scored 13 goals. That's including Al Hilal, that's including Al Arabi, that's including Segrada of Angola, who is a Confederations Cup outfit, and we also played Maromo. So all in those 13 goals that we scored, we only considered 2, and both the 2 goals that we considered were penalties. And I think the players are beginning to understand what we are trying to do, and it's looking very good, I must be honest.
Does that mean what? A lot of changing of, let's say, goalkeeping personnel, for example? I know that Sanele Shabalala would have had his time in. And what have you made of his performance? Because that competition at Mamelodi Sundowns for goalkeeping berth has always been tough. You know, you've seen some top goalkeepers not even making the bench, sitting up in the grandstand, simply because it is that tough. And then at times you would have made a decision to say, okay, because of the depth of talent in the goalkeeping department, maybe at times you focus on the Nedbank Cup and you make it quite obvious that that's going to be your cup. How did the spin with the goalkeepers come through? Just talk me through it, because I just thought it's really, really fascinating what you have.
To be honest with you, I think we've got one of the strongest goalkeeping departments in the league, with Ron Nguyen being our number one, and currently Dennis is our number one and is doing very well. As for the number three, it's very difficult to know. Jody has really done exceptionally well during this preseason. Sanele also did exceptionally well in this preseason, though he joined us late because of visa issues. Riyad has also performed quite well. It's always difficult to know what's going to happen in that department, but when you join that department, you know already you are going to face stiff competition. But what we always brace ourselves is the number of games that we are going to play. I remember at one stage, I think it was 2014 if I'm not mistaken, when I first joined Sundowns. In the last stages of the game, all our key goalkeepers were injured. We ended up signing a boy, I'm just forgetting his name now, but his surname was Mbata. We signed that boy just to become cover, and he's got a gold medal and winning the league for those few matches that he was there, and he never got to play, to be honest. We just wanted cover. So we've always been cautious in not having 3 goalkeepers. In fact, we always try to have 5. Sure. But our ideal situation would have been the 5th goalkeeper to be one of our young goalkeepers, maybe from the DDC. Yeah. That's the most ideal scenario. But at the moment, we don't have anyone who is very close to really challenge. In the past, we had a boy that was called Cheese, who was playing for the DDC, but also our fifth goalkeeper, and he was very good. I think he wasted his talent. He was very good, that boy. I expected a lot from him.
Wasted opportunities, as they say in the professional game. You never get a second chance at times, and if you don't take it the first time, you're done. Let me get the things you hate out of the way so that we can talk football. One of the things that you do hate is talking about positions. You've made it very clear. You've addressed the media. You've said positions aren't the only things that really matter. And I've taken that, and I said, to quell the confusion as far as position, because people are obsessed with positions, you think differently in terms of that. And I understand your thinking, also understand South African footballers' schooling through the years. So when Sundowns introduced the whole co-coaching idea, everybody was a bit confused about what it means, who's senior, who makes the decision, who does the interviews on television pre and post the game. So it came with all of those questions. So now Kombela comes back, senior coach, Fault comes back, assistant coach, Manqoba Mngqithi, yes, coach, but is he head coach? So hierarchically, that is what causing the confusion, to almost say that, are Sundowns still waiting for a head coach to come in? So help me here to make sense of this.
I think we are confusing ourselves. I don't think there is any confusion, because I think the media statement that was given out when Coach Steve was brought back to the club was that he's coming to assist me as the senior coach. Romain comes in as an assistant coach, which is so clear that he's operating a little bit below Steve Kompela. Mm-hmm. And if Steve was coming to assist me and there is no other coach beyond me at the moment, I think I'm the one who is leading the team. And as for the title that people always look for, I always say in football, any head coach has got a coach waiting to take over from him. If we don't do well, the expectation is easy that somebody must come and take over. If we do well, nobody will take over. When I started as a coach, I was an interim coach, and I ultimately took over because the team did well. But sometimes in South Africa, I think we've got this obsession of titles, because I think it's sufficient when you know who is leading at that point in time, because that's where the confusion would emanate. Because even at the time of the co-coaching, it was clear from the beginning as to who had the final decision at that stage. And even now, if Steve is coming to assist me and I recommend Romain to join the club, how do I recommend Romain if I'm not leading the technical team at that point in time? Because somebody else should bring the coaches that he think will make his job easier. And I must be honest, from what I've seen in both Coach Steve, Romain, Coach Wendell, and Coach Kennedy Mwene, that department is very strong. That department is very strong. And that is what is important for me. In other teams, I always hear people say, why so many coaches? But in my space, I always say, very good leaders believe so much in themselves. But the best leaders know that they don't know it all. So ever since I started coaching, probably from Maritzburg City where I started, we were 5 coaches at ABC Motsepe League. It was called Vodacom League at that time. Thabo Dladla was the technical director. Reggie Shalembe was the head coach. I was the first assistant coach. Tami Mahlanzi was the second assistant coach. Then there was Mhlanga, who was as qualified as us as coaches, but he was a team manager. So we were 5. And that for me was the best induction, because in football, if you don't want to miss anything, you need as many eyes and as many brains. And at Paris, they've got 2 assistant coaches. You can check, Ntsegi had 2 assistant coaches. You can check, many teams have, but maybe the caliber of those assistant coaches is what you would question. With why others look like there are too many when they are actually the same number. Probably it's the quality of personnel.
And I agree with you 100%, because in using Chiefs, for example, with the Ntsegi example, is that you couldn't say a Dylan Shepherd would have coached to a level of success any other team individual as a head coach, or others one they would have achieved, was when you were roped into Sundowns by Coach Pete. So you had done very well at Lamontville Golden Arrows. You had won the MTN 8, a title that, has eluded them in years that have now gone by. So you were in your own right a head coach. Steve Kompela, in his own right, before he was brought back to Sundowns, was a head coach, where he was again at Lamontville Golden Arrows and brought back to another role. So sometimes the confusion, as you say, it depends on the level of achievement of those that are brought in to come and assist. And at times, as you know, in the world is not even. When we come back from the break, we'll find out from Coach Manqoba Mngqithi, the style of play that everybody talks about, is it likely to change? Are they likely to carry on with much the same? And let me just introduce us to a couple of the new names that have stepped in.
#MSW live now on 947 Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Sowetan Live at the same time. #MSW.
What's a Thursday without Lotto Star's real jackpot race? We are bringing you the hottest slots in a thrilling race where a share of 500,000 Rand could be yours. The jackpot is guaranteed to hit. Join the race every Thursday evening from 7 to 9 p.m. You could be one of 500 lucky winners. Lotto Star, your world of live games. Lotto Star is licensed by the Mpumalanga Economic Regulator. No under 18. NRGP 0800 006 008. T's and C's apply. All games are fixed odds betting events.
Welcome to another episode of Hey Duck, Riddle Me This! Okay, Duck. A train leaves the station and travels north at a speed of 75 kilometers per hour. At precisely 20 kilometers, which is 2/3 into the journey, you spill your coffee on your white shirt. How will you clean it? Mac. Correct! Mac Auto Powder. Anything else is just wrong.
Experience more value at Food Lovers Market with Big Deal Wednesday. Buy 2 packs of sweet corn 4s for only 50 Rand. That's 2 sweet corn pre-packs for a low 50 Rand. And enjoy delicious chicken fillets for just 59.99 per kilo. These and more incredible deals are valid this Wednesday only at all inland Food Lovers Market stores. It's in the experience.
You have big goals for your business. You're scaling more, sleeping less, in desperate need of a cash flow boost. But you're too tired to hoop through the jumps. So what do? Lula. It's fast, easy Lula to get business funding of up to 5 million Rand in 24 hours. Apply online in minutes with no paperwork, no obligations, and no collateral needed. Apply today at lula.co.za and make cash flow.
So why should I use We Buy Cars if I want to sell my vehicle?
Because We Buy Cars buys cars.
But will I get the right price?
Of course. We Buy Cars buys thousands of vehicles and knows exactly what every vehicle is worth. Their buyers deliver exceptional service and pay you immediately.
And how do I know what they'll pay for my vehicle?
It's easy. Visit webuycars.co.za or use the We Buy Cars app. Follow the simple steps and voila, you'll know your car's value in no time. We Buy Cars. Quick, easy, the best.
Designing unique clothes is my game, but delivering them, that's a whole different ballgame. That's where Postnet swings in. It's fast, reliable, and always on point. With Postnet's courier services, my customers are never left waiting. My business isn't just growing, it's booming.
That's because at Postnet, it's not just about parcels. It's about your business vision. Postnet, nurturing dreams, one delivery at a time. Getting you across the line.
Previously on Marawa Sports Worldwide.
We got Wesley Button, sports reporter with the Citizen.
With Segodiso just on her inside.
A little bit on Prudence Segodiso.
You know, she's not an overnight sort of sensation. She's really improved a lot over the last few years, and especially the last 2 seasons.
But all I know is that Caster Semenya did it back in 2016.
Can she find something? Semenya's digging deep. It's been a lightning quick pace.
If there is any motivation, I would say, Wesley, is to take over, that baton and run with it and take charge of the 800 meters.
Once Semenya retired, somebody would come through at that level because you're asking a lot. Segodiso has done really well. Like I say, she's still young, so we're expecting a lot more from her.
#MSW. #MSW.
Hi, Rob. Greetings to you and the coach in the studio. This is Joy from Watford in Benoni. You know what? He's one of the coolest human beings I've seen. And I know Sundowns, they are not going to fall down. It's just a continuation of what they have been doing for the past 7 seasons. And regardless of whatever people are saying to say maybe this might be the downfall of the team, no, I totally disagree with them because the coach has been there for a long time and he knows what is needed. He knows the winning team. He knows the winning formula. So yeah, as I said, to me, it's just a continuation of everything. Big ups to him. Congratulations to him. I wish him all the best in the coming season. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Rob. It's Hulifelang here, and good evening to the MSW shoulders, and good evening to Coach Mngqithi of Mamelodi Sundowns. Big ups to them for, in his words, a very successful pre-season. Congratulations on winning the 7th straight DStv Premiership title. Now, despite the technical shake-up, which has seen Mlungi Surulane Mkwana leave the club, the bringing in of Romain Folz, throughout all of those that have happened, what lessons can he pick up from, the overall, from the preseason overall, whether you're going to look at it from a technical perspective? Yes, the coming back of Steve Kompela, the welcoming of Romain Folz, the players that they've signed as well. If I'm not mistaken, they signed Kobamelo Kodisang, if I'm not mistaken. But just to name a few of those players, the signings that they've made throughout this preseason, or what can he tell us that, this is what he has learned throughout the preseason with this shaken up squad? That is what I want to find out. Great show as always. Thanks.
All right, Hulifelang, thank you so much indeed. We'll get some of those other WhatsApp voice notes up and running shortly. Lessons learned preseason would have been what? You mentioned Kodisang. Maybe let's start off the conversation there. Because Kabelo, we all know him. I think Platinum Stars is where he would have kind of emerged from. But also positionally. So here's a guy, either right wing, you use him, I don't know where you would prefer to use him now. Has obviously been to Portugal. He's joined Mamelodi Sundowns. Already the national team has had a look at him. If I'm not mistaken, last year, September, when they played against Namibia, he was called up for that game, played in that game as well. So there are a lot of positives that aim or point towards Kodisang as a player. What has he given you so far? And how has he gelled in the preseason and in the other build-up games?
To be honest with you, with Kodisang, the good thing is that it's a boy that I know when he was young. I know what he's capable of. I also know him from Coach David Notane's team, the Olympic team. I know him. I've always followed him. He's a very, 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 very big talent for South African football. And I think his decision to come back maybe will aid his chances of going back to the national team. But I must also say, with us, it started a bit slow. Maybe carrying a bit of weight at that time. But he's improving in leaps and bounds with every match. At this stage, he's not yet ready to be in our first 11, I must be honest with you. But he's pushing very closely now. He's beginning to gain shape. Technically, very good player. A very big dribbler. Very balanced boy that can also score goals. For us, maybe he might play on the left.
Or not
it
right.
will depend. Yeah, maybe he will play on the left. If he plays on the right, he'll be very lucky.
Sure.
But we will play him on the left because we want goals from him. We don't want him to be busy. We want him to always attack the box, not attack the goal line.
It's exciting that you talk about that. But this is the part of the conversation that I always enjoy with you, Coach. When you make those tactical switches and plays with individuals that are seen to be, right wing players, which maybe drags me now to Thapelo Maseko. I mean, here's another youngster, 20 years old. Everybody has a perception about where he should play. And I think even as part of your pre-season, you've said, no. With all the dribbling, with all the pace that he has, I see this player as a striker. Guide me through that. Tell me what you're seeing that the rest of the public is not seeing.
To be honest, I think I have worked with serious dribblers.
Yes.
And I know a good dribbler when I see one. But there are attributes that Thapelo has which make me think he will help us a lot as a striker. As a winger, yes, there are games where, if, for instance, we are playing with a fullback that may not go high and wide on the left, like we did against Kiev. We played Musa Lebusa as a left back in that match because Divine was injured. Terence was going to play the second half. Then we played Maseko as an outright winger, and we kept him wide for one-on-ones. And he played very well in that game, and he could have easily scored 2 goals. But the strange part is that probably 90-95% of the games that he has played during pre-season, he's been playing as a number 9. We started with Sekhukhune at home before we left. I played him as a 9. I did not even know the history that he has ever been a 9 before. But there are things that I see in him which the future will judge me. But I think he's going to really challenge Peter, Lucas, and probably help us a lot in the Champions League, because there is also that contrast that people are not aware of, that when we won the Champions League, we won it because we brought a different variation of strikers. We were playing with a Kama Billiard, a Pesitau, and maybe to a certain extent a Castro. But speed and dribbling and aggression is what helped us. We brought Afonso, we brought Omameni Young, we brought Brocky, we brought Castro. It's always been difficult because when you bring that type of a striker against the North Africans, that's what they are used to every week. They are used to big strikers. They are used to people who are going to challenge them aerially and physically. But when you bring speed, that is what makes Pesitau a very successful player in Africa, because he brings just that element that probably Esperance is seeing. That's why they want Mokwana, they want Apolis, they want all these youngsters, because they've realized that speed and intensity in that area, maybe even defensively for the pressing, will help. And Maseko brings that dimension of a striker. He scored against, let me go back, he scored against Sekhukhune as a 9. He scored against Al Arabi from Qatar as a 9. He scored against Marumo as a 9. And he's still going to score, and he's scoring some very beautiful goals in that position, because I did not even know, Klompo made me aware in the pitch side show that we were doing that he was a striker before. That's why his nickname is Aguero. And I did not even know that. I was just looking at this boy, and the excitement when I give him that position, I see the boy wants to play this position, and now everybody in the club starts to look at this boy differently, because when he's in that position, the timing of his runs is very good. I don't think I've seen him being offside in all these friendly matches.
Sure.
And he has really attacked the box very well. He has got different types of goals. And being a left-footed striker, it's a little bit difficult for defenders to deal with that. Lucas Ribeiro also scored, I think he scored 2 against Segrada yesterday. And he was also a very difficult problem for them to deal with because he was coming from the right channel and to his stronger foot. And when we identified him, we saw that he's a player that is stronger, cutting in from the right and attacking the box because he's got finesse to finish that goal. If you saw the goal he finished against Al Hilal in Austria, he's got a lot of such goals. Yesterday he scored some crackers. So we are looking at Masego as a striker and as a winger. Maybe as a winger sometimes in the PSL because we are playing against low blocks. Sure. He must try to find a way on the outside and get us inside the box. But maybe in Africa there is space behind.
Yes.
And I don't remember out of all the top 5 teams, one of them that has got quick defenders. So, and if you remember what we did to Zamalek with the Hegazis of this world, we easily went through them because Percy was on fire, Kama was on fire. And look at the Champions League in Europe. The dominant team is always playing like a small team. Real Madrid is always looking like a counter-attacking team, and they win that thing. And cup matches, check the stats, check the data. You will see cup matches are always decided by teams that have got an ability to play in and around your box, but teams that can also threaten you if you are dominant against them, maybe with speed behind the defense.
Well, I guess that's why it worked for a Real Madrid with Rodrigo, because Rodrigo was never seen as anybody who can make any impact. So it becomes a case now where you've got literally 4 choices of first-team players is how you play them all at the same time. So it's exciting the fact that you talk about that because there was a stage now where Peter Shadulile's game was becoming one that a lot of clubs are able to read. So the one-dimensional nature of the attack made him frustrated, and that is why the season that he's just come out of was not probably one of his best in terms of clinical finishing, but he's always a threat. Whether he is on top of his game or not. Lots of questions, Coach, that are coming in. Let me go to the Val. We've got Louis coming through. Louis, good evening.
How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. You want to ask the question?
Yeah, Mr. Manqoba, how are you, sir? My Sundowns supporter.
I'm good, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, man. Tell me something. Is Abubakar Nasir still a Sundowns player?
Who? Abubakar?
Abubakar Nasir, yes.
Okay. Coach?
I think so because he's training with us.
Training with you. Okay, the second point is...
But he was not registered last year because he was injured.
Well, he was
so
injured.
We wanted him to recover and build his physical side of it.
Okay,
now
no
he looks stronger, but at this stage, we are still looking at him because he was out for too long.
No problem. Then the second thing is that Serino, I'm sure he became a free agent for some time, that if ever you still wanted him in the team, you could have called him back to the team, but unfortunately was not called. So what informed the decision to let him go? Is it because maybe his attitude or disciplinary behavior made it difficult for you to work with him?
Okay,
I'll ask you to listen on the radio, Louis. Thank you.
To be honest, I like Gaston a lot. But in life, we must also allow for succession to take place. When you look at the players that we have signed, now we are trying to have Mabena also becoming a dominant feature in our team, Maseko becoming a dominant feature in our team. We've got Kutlwano, who is also doing well. We've got Lesibanku, who is also doing well. We've got Cody Sang. We've got Lucas Ribeiro in these wide channels. And Gaston cannot play as a 9. Maybe as a false 9 he can play. But in a 3-man midfield, he's also not going to be there. So we don't want to stifle the growth and the development of youngsters. But the truth of the matter, he's still a very good player. And discipline-wise, he's very disciplined. But we must also allow for the succession to take place. And I think the players we have signed are going to maybe prove whether it was a wrong decision for the club to let him go or it was the right decision. But let's just wait and see.
Very quickly, while we talk about Nasir, though, because it changes a couple of things. With Seveda being recalled back into the team, so I don't know the latest dynamics within Tlhorko, but from my understanding, that now moves your tally of foreigners to 7.
What if Savretra is naturalized?
Has he been?
I'm just asking.
I don't know. I haven't been to Home Affairs.
Let's wait. Now I don't know these things. I just enjoy when I see these talented players around me and doing well, because he also played in the friendly against Maromo. He had an exceptional game in training, and we are all excited because the truth, nobody knows what Savretra is capable of in South Africa, because he got injured now and again. But believe me, there is so much that boy is supposed to give Sundowns.
Yeah. Because, I mean, in his time in South America, where, 6 months, I think it was, that he was there, 13 appearances that he made, and everybody was raving about him and his performance. Was the big question to say that, do you keep him, or like you say, potentially naturalize him, given the amount of time that he spent in the country, so that you can have him
and maybe
play?
The resources, not even the amount of time sometimes.
Yeah, the resources that he has to fast track the process.
And this issue of naturalization, sometimes it's because of what you have in terms of assets. And if you've got assets that amount to a certain amount of money, which puts you in a position to say you can survive in this country without needing our jobs or taking our jobs, then there is that process. And there's also 5 years of being in South Africa. And I think Alias Khut is a case in point. The same thing happened to him. He was not in South Africa for 5 years, but he was naturalized based on what he had in terms of his financial freedom.
So to ask the same question, but differently and very quickly, Coach, is that so you will have no pressure in having to play a numbers game and say you have to release a certain player because you've reached the threshold of foreigners?
No, I don't think. At this stage, I don't think we've got that problem.
Yeah.
#MSW live now on 947 Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Sowetan Live at the same time. #MSW.
Embrace excitement with Hollywoodbets Spina Zonke prize drops. Stake R2 or more on selected pragmatic play games every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 8:30 p.m. for a possible share of 2.5 million rand in cash and prizes. Bet now. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. Hollywoodbet supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Akwele.
Akwele.
Akweli.
Akwela.
Akwele.
Akwili.
Akwele.
Akwela. No matter how you say it, one thing's for sure, Akwele has been your trusted natural spring water and delicious flavored sparkling drink for 25 years. Celebrating 25 years of refreshment and joy. Thank you, Mzansi, for your support and making us your favorite water brand. Akwele, spreading joy for 25 years.
Win big with Cell C and Oppo. Get the new Oppo A60 for only 299 Rand per month on a 36-month Elevate 2 contract and get 30 gigs extra data free. You also stand a chance to win 100,000 Rand towards your wish, lifestyle vouchers, data, or win your contract on us. Go in store or call 084 145 today. Valid until 8 August. T's and C's apply. Cell C. Change your world.
You've just closed a deal. Your business is about to boom, but you need cash quickly. Do you find a way to cut costs? Tap into your personal savings? Go to the bank with its long queues and pages of paperwork? No. Ask Lula. It's fast, easy Lula to get business funding of up to 5 million Rand in 24 hours. Apply online in minutes with no paperwork, no obligations, and no collateral needed. Apply today at lula.co.za and make cash flow.
It's Harold Ned Forest Hotline, Rowan on the line.
Harold, help. Last year, I forgot my wife's birthday.
Whoops, let me guess. Things got a bit hairy, hey?
No, the exact opposite. She swapped my shampoo for hair remover. There's not a hair left on my head.
Ooh, smooth.
Please help me get it right this year.
You can get a lot more than right. Just visit Net Florist and order the biggest birthday bouquet you can. and your head will be all taken care of. Net Florist, it's easy to show you care.
During winter, the chilling and numbing temperatures are not the only things you have to be brave in the face of. Often frosty weather brings with it miserable colds. Rely on Corenza Paris C for the relief from pain, fever, and blocked noses associated with colds and flu, and Expigen for the relief of cough. Brought to you in association with Adcock Ingram OTC, sponsors of Brave, inspiring communities, one pharmacy at a time.
Previously on Marawa Sports Worldwide.
Opta Jabu is my sports data analyst. He's our sports data analyst. His name could be, by the end of the season, entrenched into some of the greatest players that have ever set foot or worn that Orlando Pirates jersey.
In Pirates history, no player has scored more goals in this particular competition than Saleng, who's now on 5 goals in the MTN 8. And that puts him level with Uzakele Lipasa, who also has 5 goals in this competition. So if he scores at any point this season in this competition 1 more goal, he'll become Pirates' top scorer in this particular competition in PSL history.
And that's great motivation, though, because that's what cup games are all about.
Flashed across the face from Monapule Saleng. Time approached.
Hashtag MSW. Hashtag MSW.
Good evening, Brarop. Good evening to my favorite coach, Coach Manqoba. Brarop, you know, every time when Sundowns changes the coaching department, the technical department, they give other oppositions, they give them hope that they're going to win. But then come December, they'll be saying, everyone can coach Sundowns with the players they buy and everything. And I know my coach is going to do well. My coach is going to extend that 23 points lead. I watched the games when they were playing in Austria, when they're playing against Al Hilal, the 2 games that they played on one day. I was impressed with the way they play. And I just want the coach to elaborate on why did he bring Forecloser? Because I think most people seem to be confused with that, but I know that he's a fan of Forecloser from the time when Forecloser was here. I think in 2022 he spoke brilliantly about him. Thanks, Brarop. Good show as always. Sir JC Tebe here.
Good evening, Marawa. Coach Manqoba, welcome. We've been waiting for you. Ngithanda ukubongela, Coach, for finally taking up the head coach position at Sundowns. It's been long coming, and I know that you do your best to make sure that the Sundowns continues where it left off last season or the past 7 seasons. And I know that you do your best to make sure that you give us a Champions League as well. And we love you. Thank you.
Good evening, Rob, and good evening to Coach Manqoba. Coach, we saw a new face during the pre-season in the Sundowns defense, the young man, Malibongwe Khoza. What does this mean for Sundowns having to promote a player to the first team who has been with the club from the age of 12? What is it that the young man is bringing? Because I think he's one quality player, which I believe is going to surprise many of us. But from your perspective, what plans does the team have around this young man? Thank you so much. Wishing you all the best for the upcoming season.
Good evening, Robert, and good evening to Coach Manqoba. This is the man. Robert, you are with a man I adore most. One reason is that he's humble, doesn't play to media's gallery. He keeps his cards to his chest. Keep up doing that, Coach. And as for the noise that people make regarding play, regarding losing, they forget that you have been there. And just keep calm. And they must not get your mouth on it, Coach. I wish you all of the best. I wish you success with your team. I know you did it and you still will. Good show as always, Kele Sandawa.
Good evening, Rob. Good evening to Coach Mangqoba Mngqithi, Lungsan Hlajwa here in Doha. I just want to firstly congratulate Coach for being appointed now to take Sundowns. I believe it's the right time. I remember years ago he was asked why he's taking the reins permanently, especially after Coach Pitso left, and he did mention that probably it was not the right time. But I guess it's the right time now. I believe in him. And want to wish the team the best. We've got a tough season ahead, but he's got our support, and the whole team has got our support. Thank you, Rob.
Oh, I mean, that could have gone on. Trust me, Coach. I could play these ones for another 15 minutes. That's just how many voice notes we do have. Phone calls already waiting. We've only got, 10 minutes left of the show. But just to summarize, I think that's the only thing I can ask of you. Let's keep it nice and short. Give others a chance. I don't even know if I'll get a question in. For Hloza, you touched briefly on it. I know you and I spoke extensively during the break about him, what he brings, and maybe to the uninitiated ear that is still wondering why Hloza is part of Sundowns. Give me an answer.
No, to be honest with you, it's just a shame in our country, because when you did not do well with a team, sometimes you have done well, but because the team decided to let go of you, people start to make their own judgments. But if you look at what Hloza did at Marumo, the players that he brought there, first, he brought Dion, who is at Amazulu, top player, who has done well in the country. He brought Ture, who is now at Stellenbosch, top player, who has done well for Stellenbosch. He brought Lesibanku, top player that is doing well even for us at Sundowns. And you just go back and look at the matches of Marumo during his time. Then you will realize the quality and the ability of this young man. And I was fortunate. I even invited him to Joburg when he was working for Amazulu, because I just wanted to know what he has in his mind and get to understand his ability. And I can tell you, and I can tell South Africans that I've brought a very good coach next to me. And even the ones that are talking negatively, one day when they get to hear him, they will understand that I do not bring people because they are my cousins or my uncles or what. I've always brought serious coaches next to me. I worked with Mandla Ncikazi at Golden Arrows. I brought an assistant coach from Brazil because I saw something. I went to Brazil and I spent time there, and I looked at his team. He was at Palmeiras at that time in the youth, and I said, I want Luis, because I knew what I wanted from him. I also know what I want from Romain, and I already is beginning to give that. The perspective from the players has also changed completely, because they also listen to these voices that sometimes are misleading them. If this boy can be recommended by Arsene Wenger, then he is good enough. Because Arsene is not a pushover. And he was brought to FIFA by Arsene Wenger. But I kept contact because I knew in my next job I'm going to work with him. And I trust his ability and I trust his demeanor. And what I liked the most about him and Coach Steve, probably if I can say Coach Steve, Coach Kennedy, Romain, and Wendell Robinson, I like to work with people that are humble first. I like to work with people that are not fighting for the screen, fighting to be seen, fighting for people to know how much they know. I like to work with people that just have a lot of influence in making sure that what they are doing is right. Wendell has done an exceptional job at Sundowns. He never talks, he never comes to the media. Romain, very soon people will be singing his praises. Coach Steve, everybody knows what he's capable of. So I want to work with people that will make a difference. It's a very big slice of cake that we're dealing with at Sundowns, and it's very difficult that I can eat it alone. It's too much. So I'm very hopeful. Very soon people will maybe I'll be vindicated. Let me just say that.
Well, I think it's an in-depth explanation when you bring in the name of Arsene Wenger, when you bring in FIFA, the high performance department within FIFA, where he has been ever since. When you bring in the UEFA Pro license, I mean, you can justify all you want, but like you say, he's going to prove them on the field what he can do. I want you, please, Coach, to answer the one, which I thought was a very good question by Tebogo regarding Umalibongwe Khoza. What does that signify in terms of just, putting that on his shoulder to say, can you, at this age, do the job?
If you can ask him, Malibonga, because they were training with us sometimes last season, and I've always told him, you will play for my team, because I believe the boy is good enough to play in the PSL. And he might even find himself playing in the Champions League at some point. I don't know what's going to happen in that central defense, because if I look at how he has performed, probably comparing with some senior players that we have, the boy has done exceptionally well. You look at the game against Al Hilal, the first half, you will see what he has done. He has been growing from strength to strength, technically very sound, aerially very strong on set pieces. He is a very sound centre back, and he can also play as a 6 in the midfield. So I know what he's capable of, and I'm very confident. He's not one of those players that will be there and never get a chance to play. He will play, and people will be surprised, because maybe big players at that time will be on the bench and he will be playing and he will do well.
And that's the nature. I think that's the nature of what the Euros have taught us, is that allow talent to be. Don't be restrictive. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about some of the big names, your Williamses, your Yamals, and everybody else in the world. We would not be talking about them had they had age to restrict them, except for their ability. And I think it's a different world we live in, and we've seen Sundowns do that. It was like, I put my banner, why you? So all of those conversations, I guess, will come to an end. Let me take Tsepo from Volkslu. Tsepo, good evening.
Evening, Tarot, and evening to Coach Manqoba. How are you?
Yeah, we're good, man. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, Tarot, maybe a quick one to the coach. With all the money that is being pumped into the team, does he think maybe, and even looking at what happened to Coach Rulani last season, does he think now it's a mandate for Sundowns to win the Champions League, or maybe there's no mandate from the top bosses?
All right, nice one. Thank you so much indeed, Tsepo in Volkslu. I'm even looking, it's going crazy here on the YouTube channel. And I'm seeing a lot of the mandate thing coming through, because, there was a team where last season you broke records, you broke season records, you lost your first game in the last game of the season, won AFL. You literally did everything except win the Champions League. That coach who was in charge in Rulani Mokoena is no longer in charge of the team. He's now gone. So do they then put a particular mandate to Coach Mngqithi and say, you do this or else we say cheers to you?
To be honest, I think that is the mandate we've always been living with every year. From the time Coach Pitso was here, we always wanted to win the Champions League. The club believes they put the right investment to win the Champions League. And to be honest with you, I personally, as Manqoba, I'm looking at everything else and I'm saying, I will not be happy even if I were to win all the trophies in the PSL again, because I've done that before. But if the Champions League is not won, I will not feel good. That's why in my planning and in me bringing the people that I'm bringing, in me structuring the team the way I'm structuring it, it's because I'm looking at that bigger picture that the club must win the Champions League. And I think it's high time. Everybody knows, we've always had this mandate in all these years. It's not an easy competition to win, but we must always put the best fight. And I don't think we will complain about anything if we don't win it this year. We have a responsibility, and I trust the team that we have, that it has grown in leaps and bounds. And I must also be honest, sometimes you always want to nullify the work of the previous coach. But I think Coach Rulani has also done a lot of good work at Sundowns, has done a lot of good things. And he has also been the base of most of the things that one is going to be adding, because there are a lot of, our defensive record last season was very good. Our possession stats were very good. We broke so many records in the championship. But I just think the style of play for the championship and the style of play for the CAF Champions League has to be slightly different. If you check how difficult it is for Man City to win the Champions League, how difficult it is for Paris Saint-Germain to win the Champions League, it's also as difficult for Sundowns to win the Champions League, because maybe our style of play sometimes does not help us to achieve that objective. Maybe if we look at what happened when Pitso won the Champions League, we will be able to say maybe we can pick something from there and look at how Al Ahly has been winning the Champions League and pick something from there, because they are a big team, but most of the time they win games where everybody feels they should not have won.
Let me use
Real
the Q
Madrid,
word.
the same thing.
Let me use the Q word here because of time. We're done. In summarizing exactly what you're saying, when you say a tweak in the style of play for Sundowns would maybe mirror something moving slightly away from the possession football to quick football.
To be honest with you, I wouldn't say that, because in the PSL you have to be patient, and with patience there is possession. Because sometimes you are playing against low blocks. You must not be too committal. You must try to probe as much as you can.
But for CAF?
But for CAF, you have to be a little bit direct.
Yeah.
Because nobody respects anyone there. Everybody comes to you. You must also be able to come to them. And maybe in the last 2-3 seasons, we've not really gone to them as much as we should have done. We had kept possession, and only to find that we get punished with one counter-attack from there, somewhere from there, and we lose a match. Look at the loss we had against Esperance. Coach Lane, wherever he is also not happy. We had 27 chances in that match because we tweaked the style of play, particularly for that match, which we did not do when we were playing away, where I think maybe we could have done the same thing. But when we tweaked, we created a lot of opportunities. There were a lot of volume in the opposition box. And that is something that we must also try and look into going into the Champions League. In the PSL, for instance, when you bring a tall striker like a Mameniang, a Pavol, a Safranco, and the guy from Uruguay, Afonso, those players don't help you in the Champions League, because those are the players they play against almost every week.
So it's a daily bread thing. Coach, I'm out of time. I've got to run. I thank you so much for popping in. Let it not be the last time. We enjoy these kind of conversations. All I can say is I wish you the best of luck in defending your league championship and hopefully even winning more, especially the extra star on the badge.
We will win more.
#MSW live now on 947 Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Soweto Live at the same time. #MSW.